Hello, welcome to another video and welcome to my March wrap-up. This is going to be a fairly chilled March wrap-up because because that's what I feel like. I also feel like March, the books at the beginning of the month of March, I feel like I read so many books ago, but also March feels like it only just started, so what is time? Anyway, in March I read 11 books and I DNF'd 3. Mixed bag, to be totally honest with you. I did have a decent average rating. So my average rating across the 11 books that I finished was a 4.2 star, so fantastic. And there were a number of 5 stars in there as well. However, also, like I said, 3 DNFs is not good. I'm going to do this in a similar method to what I did last month, which was basically a yes/no on why you should read all of these books. I will give you like my ratings as well. And I'm just going to go through in the order that I read them. So the first book that I read in March, I'll pop up here, is Always You and Me by Danny Atkins. And this is a book that I can't talk to you about because I am working on it for Tandem. So I will say this book is a contemporary love story. If you enjoyed books like One Day or You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty, then you might enjoy Always You and Me. This is a love story following our main character, Lily, whose husband, Adam, has passed away. He died about a year ago, and his dying wish was that she reconnects with her childhood best friend, Josh, who they had a big falling out on the day of Lily and Adam's wedding, and they have not spoken for about 10 years. And this is their story, and I just think, yeah, again, if you like these sort of kind of contemporary yet emotionally hard-hitting stories, check out Always You and Me. The next book that I read in March was The Crimson Moth by Kristen Cicerelli. This one I gave 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed it. This was for Reading BookTube's favourite books, so not a massive surprise that I really enjoyed it. But yeah, Crimson Moth, I would say yes, read it if you like a fast-paced fantasy, if you like a really interesting world building and really fun magic. Maybe give it a miss if you like your fantasy to have a little bit more depth to it. It's a YA, and it's not trying to pretend to not be a YA. So some of the magic system is fairly surface level. The next book that I read was Empire of Billions, which I've already unhauled. So I wasn't actually working on this book, but I was paid to read this book. Should I talk about it here? Do you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to. Just like, don't tell the author. I gave this book 1 star. If you are a mega fan of billionaire romances and like messy family rich people drama, you may enjoy Empire of Billions. If you like good writing, good plotting, and things that make sense, give it a miss. This book was not for me. I do enjoy good writing, good plotting, and things that make sense. For me, logic is quite an important thing in my books. Things have to make sense within the bounds of the world that we're in. And this just didn't. You know, even the fact that these are the quadrillionaire brothers, fairly certain this author does not know how much money a quadrillion is, because it's not an amount of money that a lawyer is going to make, or an actor is going to make. And that is the careers of these self-made quadrillionaires. They also had a beach holiday in Antarctica. So yeah, this book was not for me. Moving swiftly on, the next book I read was 17 by Jo Gibson. This one is a memoir about a story of sexual assault and grooming from a young boy's point of view. He was groomed and assaulted by his female teacher. I gave this book 4 stars. I thought it was fantastic. It was really hard hitting. It was really interesting. But for me, it didn't get the 5-star because it's not. Memoirs I find are a really difficult thing to rate, and when I was sort of thinking through it and kind of trying to make it make sense in my head, I thought, I don't know if it's going to be a book that's going to stick with me forever. But I would say read this book if you enjoy memoir, if you enjoy reading about like difficult subject matter and learning about like I said, tricky things that have happened to people. Give this one a miss if you don't want to read about this subject matter, or if you want more of a critique. I did feel, because this is told from a point of view of a 17-year-old boy, for a lot of the book, it's being framed as such a kind of fun, positive, oi, oi, lads, 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 sleeping with your teacher, which, you know, yeah, we don't see that critique of the situation until the end. And I do think that is a good thing for the context of the book. The story wouldn't be as good if we were seeing that critique throughout. However, because we're not seeing that critique throughout, it does, you have to get to that point by yourself, which sometimes, because of the way the story is told, can sometimes feel a little bit different to what you're reading. I don't know if that made sense. The next book that I read was The Goal by Elle Kennedy. I gave this book 5 stars. Okay, I love this series. It's the Off-Campus series. I think they have all been 5 stars. There might be one which is a 4.5. This one, I think, is my second favourite book in the series, but has my favourite male love interest. Read this book if you want the loveliest, sweetest, most adorable cinnamon roll character who is just there to protect and will go out of his way to be there for his girl. Don't read this book if you don't like the pregnancy trope. The next book that I read, quick tea break. The next book that I read is Quicksilver. So this one I gave 4 stars. I loved the story of Quicksilver. I loved the, and by that I mean the actual, the action, the characters. I thought the smut scenes were fantastic. It is very smutty, but brilliant. I loved the magic. I loved the characters. I loved their story. What I really, really struggled with in Quicksilver was the writing. There were quite a few situations and examples and sentences that, for me, pulled me way out of the story. And examples being when one of the fantastical Fae characters says to the main character, well, I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. Neither of our characters are in our modern world, so why would they know what Cliff Notes are? And another example is repeated throughout, how my mouth filled with sweat, meaning like when your mouth fills up with saliva before you're sick, or like, well, that's about it really. But the idea of your mouth filling with sweat, disgusting, absolutely gross, and also not accurate. So Quicksilver got 4 stars from me. I would say, yes, read it if you want a fast-paced fantasy story, if you want some romance to really get your teeth into, if you wanted, say, A Court of Silver Flames to be just a bit more fast-paced and action and a bit more plot, but with that same level of spice, read Quicksilver. Don't read Quicksilver if weird writing quirks will really upset you. Next we get on to the trio of DNFs. They were 3 books in a row that I DNF'd. I don't know what was happening with me that week. I was not having a good time of it. So my trio of DNFs starts off with this absolutely stunning book, The Scorpion and the Night Blossom by Amelie Wenzel. I read this one for Book Box Battle. It came in the February Fairy Loot box. The book is stunning. It just didn't work for me. And in fairness, I thought this could be the case. This is a book following some trials to gain immortality. And that is what absolutely sold me on it. I love a book with trials. So I was really excited to read this one and get to the trials. I never quite got as far as the trials. I don't think I did anyway. I'm not really sure. For me, the writing was too flowery, too kind of purpley prose, too lyrical, and I just couldn't get into the actual story. So I would say read this book if you like beautiful writing, if you like trials, I assume. Don't read this book if you want a slightly faster paced plot and not quite so much metaphor in your writing. We then, again, for Book Box Battle, I read To Cage It God by Elizabeth May. This is my second DNF of the month. Again, a stunning edition. This one is, I think, a Lumacrate. Yes. This book, I didn't get very far into it. I think I got 50 pages before I noped out. This book there's some sort of magic in this world where you can trap gods into your bones, but the gods also might be dragons. I was very confused by this. I would say if you like a quite unique magic system, try this book. If you want a book that is going to be logical from point one and actually explain the world to you, you might want to give it a miss. For me, this one felt like I was missing a whole book. It felt like I was reading book 2 of a series and all of the setup had been done at an earlier time and I had skipped over it. So yeah, unfortunately, not for me. And then the third DNF of the month was Lady of Darkness by Melissa K. Rowancourt, I think. I can't remember the author's name. This one I am really sad about, and I will come back to Lady of Darkness because I am very much under the impression it was me, not the book. I think at the time when I picked up Lady of Darkness, I was trying my best to finish the Reading Booktuber's Favourite Books vlog. I had just come off the back of doing my Book Box Battle vlog where I had DNF'd 2 books. And so I just was kind of getting slightly burned out with the books that I was reading, mainly because all of the books I had read up to this point were not my choice, other than the goal. You know, I wasn't reading things that I was actively choosing to pick up. So Lady of Darkness, I think I got about 20% of the way through, and I am going to pick it up again another time. It just wasn't the right time for me. I would say read Lady of Darkness if you enjoy books like Throne of Glass, or other books where there's sort of assassins and really powerful women who are sort of like hidden in their society, maybe Final Empire as well. I would say give it a miss. I guess, yeah, give it a miss if you want quite a fast plot. I found that the 20% or so that I read, the plot hadn't really kicked in. We were just getting a lot of setup, which again would normally be fine for me because it's the first book in a series, but I was just needing something a little bit faster at the time. We then moved on to Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. I gave this book 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. This one is book 2 in the series. It starts with Part of Your World. I read it last, but you know, whatever, they are interconnected standalones. I feel like I read just for the summer before I read Yours Truly, and I don't feel like I missed out anything by skipping this book. I feel like you do need to have read Part of Your World, book 1, before you can read book 2 or book 3 though. Anyway, this one I really enjoyed. We've got 2 doctors who start off. The one comes into the hospital and the woman, Brianna, thinks that he is gunning for her job and that he's kind of in there because of like boys club. And actually he's not. He's a really, really lovely cinnamon roll. Read this book if you love a romance, if you love a kind of rivals to lovers, a bit of a miscommunication in terms of the rivalry, not miscommunication between the couple. Give it a miss if that doesn't sound like your kind of thing. Can you tell I'm struggling with thoughts now? Next, I read Daughter of the Deep by Rick Riordan. This was fantastic. I listened to the audiobook of this one, and honestly, I would recommend. The audiobook was brilliant. The sound effects that were included were amazing. I had a really, really good time with the audiobook. Daughter of the Deep is kind of based on the stories of Jules Verne, so 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and The Mysterious Island, with the sort of basis of what if those stories were true and some of the characters mentioned in the stories had set up schools and were now kind of rivals. So we open up with our main character whose school gets destroyed. And Anna and her class then have to kind of try and work out how they're going to basically save themselves and save the world. I thought it was fantastic. Like I said, I absolutely loved it. I gave it 4.5 stars. I had a great time. I thought the rep in this was fantastic as well. I would say read Daughter of the Deep if you want a really, really fun YA story. I would put it in YA because the characters are 15, 16, but it is what I would call like a true YA, similar to the Heroes of Olympus series, so like the second Percy Jackson series, where the characters are 15 or 16 and they are written as 15-year-olds. You know, it's not like a sort of YA fantasy where your characters are 16 but actually they're written to be acting like they're 25. So yeah, it is written for teenagers, and I think that's brilliant. Yeah, give it a miss if underwater adventures don't interest you. Next up, I read Keeping 13 by Chloe Walsh. I gave this book 5 stars. This is the sequel to Binding 13, which I also loved. In this one, we're following Johnny and Shannon and seeing their reactions and their fallout of everything that happened at the end of Binding 13. Give this book a read if you love very difficult family situations, if you like to really get your teeth sunk into a very slow burn romance. Give it a miss if any form of domestic violence could be triggering to you. This book is dark. Next book I read was Beartown by Fredrik Backman. This one, again, what do I even say about Beartown? I think my review was I hated everything about this book and I gave it 5 stars. So yeah, it's a 5-star read. This one follows the fallout of this town after an incident happens. I won't tell you what the incident is because it's not mentioned in the synopsis. But the thing that happens makes us as the town is kind of divided by this. Do they do the right thing for the town and bury the incident so that the town can progress in terms of being able to build a hockey school? It's a hockey town, and like the thing that happens is to do with the hockey team. And again, if the hockey team can continue to be successful and not have any of this drama around them, they can be the place for the next hockey school. They can have a lot more infrastructure coming into their town. If they do the right thing in terms of following the law, none of that will happen. So what do you do? I hated the people of Beartown, and that's what made me love this book. They were so awful that you just, again, they're visceral people. They give you that true reaction. I would say read this book if you are wanting something that gives you that visceral reaction. Skip this one. Check out the triggers and skip this one if you will be triggered by any of the content included in there. And then the last book that I read in March is Sunrise of the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. Oh, this is Haymitch's Hunger Games book. And again, you will know that. I gave this book 5 stars. It was impeccable. What can I even say? I had been kind of and ahhing about reading it, but honestly, like, zero regrets. I audiobooked it and the audiobook is incredible. Yeah, read this book if you want your heart to be ripped into 500 small shreds, and just be in floods of tears, especially at the end. Give it a miss if you don't like the Hunger Games, I guess, in which case, do you even have taste? So that is my March wrap up. Let me know if you've read any of the books that I read this month, and if you agree with any of my ratings. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.